Hello there, welcome back to the Weekly Word. We're here on Barney Creek in the Coker Creek area, Tennessee, and we're at the birthplace of the Church of God. Church of God Cleveland, if you want to read in the textbooks. There's several denominations got Church of God in it. The Church of God Cleveland, technically. This is where it began. Richard Spurling was a Baptist preacher in the area. I read where he preached over at River Hill Christian, just over the state line over here in Cherokee County, and he preached down at Holly Springs Baptist down the road here, and is even known to preach at the local Methodist church, Ironsburg Methodist. But he had a falling out with his own denomination, the Baptist, because they didn't like some of the doctrine that he was preaching, and they took his credentials away from him, deordained him, so to speak, told him not to be preaching anywhere. But sometimes these denominational leaders think they got more power than they got. They can keep you from preaching in their buildings, but they can't stop you from preaching. So he came to his mill that he operated here on Barney Creek, and his big grist mill was back here in the 1880s. And they began to meet, him and 7 friends. Started out with 8 people in the cob room of the grist mill. He had chiseled a date here when he built the mill. Right above that plaque that you can see in the distance on the other side of the creek. I had climbed up there a little while ago, and the date is still there. It's just barely visible now, but it's 1881. That's when he built the mill. I think it was 1888 when they started meeting in the mill for the church. Well, that little group of 8 believers began to spread out in other churches in the area, and you think, well, 8 people, that wasn't a very big church here in the mill. Wasn't even one of the larger churches in Coker Creek in that day. But it went on to grow in the next few decades to one of the largest denominations in the entire world, today boasting well over 1 million members. One of the Old Testament prophets said, who despises the day of small things? Sometimes just little things that we don't even think much about. God can take them and turn them into great big things. Like just one day you might just quietly consider that you will become a follower of Jesus. That can become, it will become the most magnanimous decision that you ever made in your life. Way out in eternity, you'll think of all the things I ever did in my life down there on earth. That decision to become a Christian was the most important thing I ever did. We'll see you next week on the Weekly Word. We'll find some other adventure. But right now we're going to leave Barney Creek here and go find something else. See ya. Oh, there's the 8, okay. 8. 1881. I read the rock was gone to Cleveland, but it's still here. 1881. That's been a while. Here's something neat to show you about the Spurling mill. Probably not many people know this is here. I'm standing in what looks like a ditch, but you can follow it from the mill site all the way back up to the left prong of Barney Creek, way up high on the mountain. And according to the local Coker Creek historian Harold Witt, whose father was old enough to remember the mill, his father said this was dug out where they put the wooden flume in it to get the water way up high on the left prong of Barney Creek and run it down here. It came across the road up in the air and it overshot the wheel. And we'll go down and show you the mill site in a minute, where I think the mill sat at. It wasn't actually across the creek. You can look at the painting and it's pretty historically accurate, I believe. And all they looked like they used big Barney Creek down there for was just to get rid of the water again to discharge into it. But it's kind of neat if we follow this way up the hill, and that was a lot of handwork back in 1881 to dig all this trench out to build the wooden flume in. And down this way, we're just looking over the mill side again. You can see where it came off and would have been up in the air with the wagons and things just driving under it. We'll go back down and look at the mill site one more time. Look at the painting while you're at it too, and that we put on there for you. And you can see how it looks like two creeks, but actually the left thing is the road, and the right one would be Barney Creek, I believe. Let's go back down there and look at something. All right, I'm going to share with you the best I can ascertain by searching around on the ground and the picture and everything I can read about this. We followed the flume line out, and I hung my coat up there for a marker. Just to the left is the traces in the ground from the old flume line that would have had the wooden box with the water running through it, and it would come right across here over our heads. I'm on Barney Creek Road right now. Somebody put a cross up here, whether by accident or on purpose, maybe they knew, but probably that cross might be the exact spot where the Church of God's beginnings were. It would have set right here between the road and the creek. Look at the painting once again. That's, I think, fairly historically accurate. And the flume would have overshot the wheel and just spilled back into Barney Creek right here. And then, of course, across the creek is the place where Spurling said he carved the 1881 date on the rock up there that we showed you. And it's still there. You got to climb up there and really feel for it, but you can trace it. It's been a long time, a lot of weather since then. But we've had fun here on Barney Creek. We're going to go find another outdoor adventure to find you something else hopefully interesting. Watch us again next week. We'll launch at 6 o'clock Thursday night. Hey, we're back off the mountain now. We're back down in Tellico Plains at the Charles Hall Museum once again. Here we are on Building 2. We wanted to close out the Barney Creek episode by showing you what is believed to be the millstones from the Barney Creek mill. There's a little disclaimer here that says it's unverified. These are on loan, I guess, from the Miles and Dixie Witt family, but they're believed to be the millstones from the Barney Creek mill. Pretty good sized stones. What I've read, even if they weren't from the Barney Creek mill, Richard Spurling, that was his gift. He carved stones for all kinds of mills in the area at that time. It was a rare gift to be able to do that. Anyhow, we want to show you these. Hope you've enjoyed this segment. We'll see you next time on the Weekly Word Outdoor Adventures.